Hello and welcome to another Let's Play Planet Zoo. My name is Chris, and this is episode 25 of Perseid Zoo. In this episode, we are finally getting around to building the polar bear overlook and Arctic wolf overlook. Was really having a lot of trouble with the creative design for this. Pretty much hit a creative roadblock that struggled with for probably a couple of weeks. I have kind of an idea in my head, and I even kind of struggled while I was building with it. You'll see this build go through a few iterations here. Don't show it all, just kind of show you the gist of what I was going for, and then we'll have a cut, and then it'll be something slightly different. It kind of follows the same layout. So what I had the idea of is I wanted to have kind of two buildings almost on top of each other. So you'd have one that was facing the polar bears, and then you'd have another one on top that was rotated slightly that would look into the Arctic wolf habitat. Because right now there's really no good way to look at the Arctic wolves. The polar bears, if I were just to build a flat fence all the way around, you'd be able to see them just fine. But the Arctic wolves, you really want to be able to see, especially since they're kind of up higher on that cliff face. Up higher above that cliff. You would only see them if they were right there in the front of the exhibit. So I wanted to make something where you're up above that cliff, looking in to the Arctic wolf habitat there. Especially since that one's pretty heavily wooded and fairly heavy detailed. The polar bears, not so much. They just kind of hang out over there by the Perseid camp. If you remember our story from the episode a little while back. But anyway, so I first started off with these opaque glass pieces. I really think they are a very pretty building set. They have a nice shine to them. My main grievance is that dark line that kind of separates all of the tiles. It looks a little bit too, almost a little too hospital-like, I would say. And it looks too gridded, too... Have you ever seen like a video game before they've applied the textures and they kind of had that like test grid over everything? It's kind of what it reminded me of. So switch over to the plaster just because it does look a little better. But overall, the rough framing of the building here is kind of accurate. I do rotate it a little bit before the final product. It gives kind of the rough idea. Yeah, like I was saying, I had quite a bit of creative block with this. I mean, it's been sitting here since, I want to say since we did the caribou. Mainly because like the buildings I'm looking at for inspiration, they don't have super large panoramic windows on like one side, or even super large like balconies on one side. They're usually, both sides have balconies, or both sides have big panoramic windows. I was trying to look at like cliff houses and stuff, because I'd figure, cliff house, you're looking out over a cliff, so you would have a lot of balconies on one side, or a lot of windows on one side. But that generally wasn't the case, especially when you rotate, or have like two buildings sitting on top of each other like this. I don't know, it was just kind of really hard to find inspiration for it. But I think in the end it turned out pretty good. It's not my favorite building, but it's definitely, it gets the job done, I guess I should say. I don't dislike it. Let's put it that way. There's a couple things like I wish I could have done a little bit better, but we just don't have the building set or the tools to do it yet. Or it's probably more along the lines, I don't have the skill set, but let's just blame it on the game, though. But anyway, I kind of had the idea to, since the outside is going to be kind of this white concrete plaster, you know, very bright, the inside should contrast that a little bit with kind of darker wood on the inside. I wish we could recolor the vertical modern wood set that I've used in the past, because I just love the texture on that wood piece, but it was just a little bit too bright, you know, with the yellow wood. If we had that texture pack with dark wood, that would be awesome, I would think. So for the railing here, I'm just taking the oval pieces and I'm kind of just sticking them on each other so you get this kind of nice rounded kind of curved railing here. Dropping a janitor down to make sure that it's the right size, so I don't go off and build everything to the wrong scale. I really need to download that little Archer guy that everybody's using, but just haven't done that yet. So instead of just dropped a janitor down. But yeah, that's pretty much the final shape of the top building there. I do build another wing off to the side here, as you'll see, but that was the easy part. I don't know. I mean, I was just having trouble with this building. It wasn't coming out the way I had super envisioned it to come out. Of course, you know, if it doesn't come out perfectly, then I've got to delete everything, right? That seems to be how it goes. I actually think I'm gonna stop work on the North American side and jump over to the African side, mainly because I'm running out of animals. I think all we have left to drop down is the tapir, and I don't know if they're going to be coming out with a South American pack. Watch I start work on Africa and then they immediately come out with a South American pack. that would be my luck, wouldn't it be? But hey, I would love that. But right now, I mean, all we have is the tapir, and kind of for the South America area, what I'm envisioning is kind of like a walk-through jungle experience. You know, you kind of have a... I'm thinking I'm going to try to make like an elevated platform that you kind of walk through, you know, not the treetops, but kind of like in the middle of the trees, over the exhibits. But, I mean, all we have is the tapir, so I can't really make a big jungle in habitat for just tapir. I mean, I guess I could, but you know, we're limited on space, so I'm not going to do that just yet. So I'll probably go work on Africa. I've got one more building I want to build, mainly because we have a huge issue with not having a staff building on this side of the zoo. All those exhibits we put in the Perseid Science Institute require quite a bit of attention, so having one staff building, like, and the nearest one is over here in the Timberwolves, like, that's just not cutting it. So need another staff building over here to kind of help out with that issue. Now this I just placed down is the New World sign. Actually had a pretty cool unintentional design feature to it. So the sign lights up. I didn't know that, but I figured if it's tucked into the wall like this, you're really not going to see it. When I go start working on the lights, it actually kind of creates a nice little soft glow on the wall there, which I thought was really pretty. So we use that a little bit more in the design. So we dropped down our little education board there. Like I said, I want this part up here to be looking at the Arctic wolves, and then down below will be primarily for the polar bears. So I drew out the roof here for the polar bear exhibit, and the first issue I ran into was, well, crap, I put this at a wrong angle because it's not really fitting in the corner lot I have here. So I think I had to like drag it out a little bit and tweak it a few times. But I ended up with this awkward top here, this top section, which I eventually did turn into another like overlook area. 'Cause it just felt like wasted space. But we'll get to that in a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. And like with most buildings, once you start going off grid and getting a little crazy with laying down pieces, the game tries to fight back. I wish these grid pieces had a way where you could like turn off the grid, like a checkbox or something. That'd be really cool. I mean, they're probably not going to do that because they're probably running other calculations off of that grid that probably make certain things important behind the scenes. I don't know. Especially like when you get two pieces up next to each other and it creates that nice corner for you, or it draws that extra little texture. If you don't know what I'm talking about, like the dry stone building set, when you get the two stone pieces up next to each other, it creates that I'm not sure what they're called, but that kind of rock corner piece kind of pops in. And it does it with all the grid pieces. The corner pieces will angle out to a point, and rather than have, you can see it kind of on that one there, just for a second, you see how it's kind of cornered. I'm guessing that calculation is dependent upon the grid, but I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes, so I can't really make that many assumptions, I guess. This is where I start having a little bit of trouble here with the bottom part. Eventually just kind of make a big old window for all of it, because it actually looked better that way. But I was running into an issue here where it looked awkward when it was kind of poking out from under the balcony on the other build, or the second floor. So yeah, starting to take shape with kind of more what I'm envisioning, or envisioned of what it should be. I do make a couple tweaks and changes here, mainly this path here along the side, rather than have it come down at like a right angle into the main pathway. Instead, kind of have this ramp along the side, which then allowed me to do a little bit more decoration with it. But I think it looks better as it comes up as a ramp rather than a, here's this steep precipice of death that you have to walk up to get into the polar bear exhibit. Having a nice kind of shallow slope here. First off, looks a little more realistic if you ask me, and then it just feels nicer. It doesn't feel as like abrupt, like, oh, I forgot to put in an entrance, I should do that. Which, to be honest, I kind of did. If you're realizing, or if you haven't realized yet, I plan out the individual builds, and I kind of have a master plan of the entire park. But as to like the specifics where buildings go and where paths should go for those buildings, yeah, I haven't gotten to that level yet. Things just kind of get plopped down. I'm trying to get better about it, but like the Last building we just did, the Science Center, that one definitely had its issues with lack of planning on my part. This one not so much because it's a smaller building. I'm definitely learning to catch myself and kind of plan a little bit better. So hopefully that starts to show here in the next couple videos. But yeah, not planning definitely makes things a little harder. Who would have thought? It's your little tidbit of wisdom today. Not planning makes things harder. The more you know. And knowing is half the battle, or whatever that is. It's been a long time since I watched G.I. Joe. Used to be one of my favorite, like, Saturday or Sunday morning cartoons. Picking windows sometimes is really hard. I eventually just used the modern one here, similar to what I did up top. You know, create a whole bunch of wood pieces here, the vertical wood pieces, and then fill it in with a window. Then inset it just a touch to kind of create a little bit of depth. Add just a little bit of extra shadow, so on the outside it doesn't look so bad. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it doesn't look so flat. There we go. That's the word. Which I guess you could say flat is bad, but yeah, the inside here started getting a little tricky, especially since there's a lot of pieces off grid. Staying on grid is easy. Getting off grid is all of a sudden a whole new game. Never really built this much off grid before, mainly because I'd never built for people that would see things. So I was more than happy when it was just myself to be like, that's good enough. Now I've got like the entire world, or like, actually, I think I've got like 70 subscribers. So I've got 70 people who are going to judge me. So, which no. By all means, I'm thrilled to have like 70 people even subscribe to my channel. I didn't think I'd get anybody. So it's kind of flattering, actually. So thank you. It makes my day. Even just to see, like, hey, 30 people watched my video. That's cool. Look at that. So, yeah, it's fun. Anyway, I just do these mostly for public speaking practice. I work in the IT world, so there are times where I probably don't talk to anybody other than my wife for a week. So... So yeah, having a little bit of extra talking and rambling is probably good for my vocal cords. I get to exercise them a little bit. So for my last build, I want to kind of explore a little bit more of detailing, because I actually had a whole lot of fun with it when I was on the roof, you know, detailing out a little walkway we did up there and a little kind of access, I don't know, access shed, access point, whatever you want to call it. So I decided I'm going to make a little elevator in here. That'll be fun. It was, and it's kind of cute, and it adds a little bit of flavor. I liked it. So yeah, I'm starting to see why people like the kind of hyper realistic detailing. Not to say like I didn't understand why they didn't like it, because I mean, if that's your thing, that's your thing. But for me, it always seemed like way too much work. But it's kind of rewarding. You know, you do it and it's like, oh, look at that, there's a little elevator, and I made that. It's cute. Look at that. My next build, I went overboard. You know, spoiler alert. Yeah, it was. I had fun making my little elevator here with this little push button, and I mean, I'm not as talented as some of those people you see out there, but I think it's cute. So, and again, it's fun for me. So I can see now why people have a lot of fun making hyper realistic builds, but I just don't think I'm at that level. So I'll stick to my little elevator here. So it's all good. The other joy of going off grid is sometimes your height pops off like by, I don't know, like 6 inches, and then you look down and it's like, or the shadow hits it another direction and it's like, well, crap. Everything is off. This is where I was talking about when we go to see the lights, and the signboards here are kind of creating this cool lighting effect on the upper railing here. So I kind of play with that a little bit more. I noticed that little cut there. Yeah, I went down a rabbit hole with the top part of the building here that I didn't really like. So now we're going to see the part that I did finally settle on. Basically, I made the top part of the building like a large like seating patio area, and got done with it, and I was like, well, that looks cheap. It looked pretty cheesy. It felt too slapped on. So instead, we're going with this. Kind of similar to the other building, but slightly different. Or sorry, I guess it's all the same building. Slightly similar to the other side, but slightly different. I originally had the idea here, and I wasn't like too disappointed with it. I actually kind of liked it, so this is why I'm showing it. But to create a sloped base on this side over here, I just thought it would look too tall by the time all things were said and done. The idea was I'm going to have this big slope side, and then I'd have like kind of a big window wall over the side. Oh, and then I did that, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I don't even know how I did this because those are all grid pieces, but that's cool. Somehow a gap showed up. But yeah, like I said, I felt like it was getting too tall, so I just deleted it. I might use that. I'll just see if I can recreate it, because I really have no idea how that happened where the grid piece was showing a gap like that. So I might try to recreate that when I go to Africa and build the large pavilion that I'm planning on building over there for our animal overlook. Because what I envision for Africa is there's going to be this great big savanna that houses most of the savanna animals. And they're kind of separated by tricks of the terrain. So, but anyway, we'll be getting to that sooner. I don't want to spoil too many things, or I guess maybe commit myself to too many things, just in case I decide this is too hard, I can't do it. I promised the YouTubes I would do it. Then have a nervous breakdown and like fall off the face of the earth. Let's not do that. So yeah, so the top or the left side here of the building is kind of mirroring the right side now, which I'm a lot more pleased with. It just looks more natural. or sorry, more that like they belong together rather than here's a patio. Cool. By this point, I've got like, I don't know, 30 or some odd building groups on this building. It's getting ridiculous. But it's starting to take some pretty good shape, at least on the top part here, I would say. Yeah, this building just kind of had a lot of moving parts to it. Well, not actual moving parts, but what I mean is it's got a lot of little kind of crevices and underhangs and eaves and this and that and the other things. I'm constantly having to go back and like check to make sure nothing is colliding, nothing's like poking out where it shouldn't be, and everything is connected. Again, it's a little bit easier when you're on grid because everything just fits. Imagine that. Here it's like, okay, I gotta check underneath to make sure nothing poked out down there. I gotta go to the left and to the right, make sure nothing poked out over there. And oof, it was getting eye crossing, let me tell you. Actually, watching the speed build of this video, I'm starting to like the building a little bit more. Honestly, like this, I feel this building's medium, but now that I'm watching it again, it's like, not too bad. It's okay. It's got charm and character and a personality. I'd give it a chance. I wanted to put something a little bit different on this side, mainly because I've got the smaller plaster piece there, the one that you can move off grid. So I couldn't use something that I could sink into the plaster. In the end, just kind of went with the glass, and then just kind of fiddled with it so that I had like evenly spaced on an uneven. I don't know what you call this, like an uneven balcony. Like it's not exactly visible by 4 meters. So had to do a little bit of tomfoolery here. I finally said, you know, we'll just bring it out even more. Get it closer to 4 meters here. Yeah, it's... You know, in hindsight, I probably should have just dropped like a habitat barrier or something up there. That probably would have been smart. Because those are really nice for doing awkward things like this. Then I started realizing, like, oh my gosh, the sides of this building that don't have windows look boring as heck. I need to do something. So brought the couple pieces to the rescue here. Actually think I got rid of those, yeah. I was trying to find something, anything to kind of add a little bit of spice to the bottom of this or the top of this, and I don't know, it was kind of hard. Can't remember if I wrapped this all the way around or not. I don't think I did. I saw this idea for this kind of this one building kind of had this steel facade that kind of wrapped around part of it, almost like a little bit like a veil. But that's also right where you're going to be looking if you want to see the polar bears. So stared at it for a while, and it's like, it doesn't look great either. So maybe we get rid of this. I kept trying to work at it because the concept art I found was really pretty, and I was like, that's cool. I can probably incorporate something like that, right? No, nope, not at all. Yeah, I mean, right now the building looks pretty flat. So then I had another idea. We replaced the awning there and kind of brought it in a little bit more. Where the glass pieces for the upper floor are on the same vertical plane as the glass pieces on the bottom floor, which I think looked pretty nice. You know, it keeps a little bit of symmetry going, or maybe not symmetry, maybe that's not the right word. It keeps a little bit of, I don't know. It looks better, okay? I don't know these architectural words if you haven't learned by now. I'm a programmer. Yeah, I kind of also finished off the roof here, tried to make it a little bit more, a little bit better shaped, a little bit different, or try to triangle it so that it looks a little bit better. You know, not just like someone dropped a square roof on top and called it a day. I actually don't remember removing those glass pieces. Wonder if I put them back. So I just removed those curved glass pieces that I had and that I liked. So, I don't remember doing that. This must be late at night or something. Maybe I put them back. I mean, because I kind of remember that they're still there. I don't know. Maybe not. Anyway, those round glass pieces were pretty, but okay, yeah, the white concrete does actually look a little better. So maybe I did do that. Some of these builds happen really late at night. So I don't always have the perfect memory on what exactly I did. Especially when I start getting ahead of myself. Like this build. It's probably about 2 weeks ago since when I actually built this. I was trying to find the right trees to put in here. I really like the Scots pines, especially this little crookedy one, because he kind of looks like he'd be growing up next to a building. You know, like he's trying to reach for the sunlight, since he's not getting like any morning sun. He's going to be reaching for the evening sun. Plus, he's also got a building in his way. One thing I hope they come out with is shorter grasses. I mean, yeah, you can sink down these grasses, but I think if we had some shorter grasses, they'd be a little bit easier to work with, especially with the when they start kind of clipping out from the floor. So, but it's Plan Co. Plan Co has, or I guess not. It's Plan Zoo. Call it Plan Zoo. Well, if you remember back in Planet Coaster, you know, there was the Planet Co. scale of things, where everything was exaggerated and large, and they kind of do the same thing, not as overtly as they did in Planet Coaster, but here they kind of have the same little bit of scale exaggeration that they had back then. We're gonna just put in the final touches on this building. We're putting the wall around the polar bears here, so I'm kind of keeping it more of a modern wall to kind of merge us into this part of the zoo. So for the for over here and kind of transitioning into, I think this is how I'm going to do the transition into South America, is with this white kind of plaster. So you can kind of go from, you know, this white plaster can be representative of, you know, like snow, ice, cold, and then there's also kind of a lot of white plaster just in like South American architecture, you know, like the mission style of things. So I think that's how I'm going to transition from tundra to tropics without too much pain, I hope, because it's definitely going to be a hard transition to sell, and I don't want it to look abrupt, you know. I want it to look kind of at least a little bit planned, you know. So I was originally just going to carry around the same wall. Then I got to the end here, or even maybe not even all the way to the end, and realized, yeah, that transition looks too crappy. So instead, just kind of grabbed elements out of this and created another fence, kind of just based off of this guy. Now, I don't think you would really want this in real life to be between your guests and polar bears, but polar bears don't climb, so in this game it works. And it looks a little prettier. It definitely fits the theme and the transition a little better, I think. Yeah, and I really like kind of how this fence turned out. I kind of wish I would used it in other places, because it looks pretty sharp. I think it kind of creates a nice transition as you're coming out of the that little service bridge to this building over here. You know, it goes from its design elements, and then kind of runs into the design elements for the building here, and then kind of continues out. So that's the video. We're gonna roll out with some cinematics here, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Thanks for watching.